Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. Hey, listen. Now, this is a fact I'm about to give y'all. Hey, Errol Spence would not have fought in 2023 if it wasn't for Terence Crawford. Now, let me tell y'all something. I personally and truly feel, right? Now, this is just my opinion. We're having a conversation. I personally and truly feel that Errol Spence was led to believe that he would not fight in 2023 and that 2024 will be when they pick up and get active again, because you can't make me believe that Al Heyman, the way he's taking care of his stable of fighters, right, that he wasn't open with them and saying, hey, this is kind of what's approaching us when it comes to Showtime, when it comes to PBC and contracts, networks, airtime, and this is what I'm working on. So just hold tight. And 2024 is going to be our year. And I really feel, not just Errol Spence, a lot of the PBC fighters, you haven't really heard no one complain. No one complaining. Right? It makes you wonder, right? If someone isn't able to fight and make money to provide for their family, how are they okay? Are they getting some kind of unemployment? Is there some kind of under the table stuff going on to make sure all those fighters are still getting paid? Is there some kind of money that's been set aside for moments like this? Kind of like the Saudis have a sovereign wealth fund. Do they have like a PBC wealth fund over there to make sure that all their fighters are being taken care of still, although they're not active? But as a result, I think Errol Spence was laying on the couch, chilling. I really do. And Terence Crawford, he, got through his BLK Prime nonsense, right? Who knows how much money he made? Who knows what the numbers were like on pay-per-view? I'm not here to talk about that. But then all of a sudden, he and Errol Spence start confabulating. Next thing you know, we hear something about an agreement. A fight's going to take place. And for me, I've always wondered, how in the world did Showtime, PBC, and everyone in the sport of boxing go from just because a fighter and the fans feel that the event is valued at 20, 30, 100 million, and fighters should get paid 20, 30 million. Yeah, we want that too, but there's no guarantee on that. And promoters aren't in the business of boxing to lose money. So the fight will never happen because of the unrealistic financial demands from Errol Spence and Terence Crawford. Now, my thing is, how we go from there to, they both got 8-figure guarantees? And I still can't get that answer. Now, of course, you know what I threw out there, what I believe. I believe Terence Crawford still had them connections. Same people who going to put up that $50 million, a $25 million guarantee for him, $25 million guarantee for Spence. I think the same people who got involved to put those guarantees up to make the fight happen. And I think Al Heyman and Showtime signed off on that. But I could be wrong. But that being said, when you take a look at, right, now what we're going to do, we're going to talk facts now, okay? That was the conversation. Now let's talk the facts. You take a look at Stan Eunice. Take a look at Crowley. Barrios got one in. Keith Thurman. And other names over there. And look, they got rid of Broner. Other names over there on the PBC roster. Look at Andy Ruiz. Look at Luis Ortiz. Okay? Deontay Wilder. And the list goes on and on. for PBC fighters, right? For the most part, most of those guys have not fought. They haven't had the opportunity to get in the ring and make any money. And I think that is a sad, sad case. But it makes you wonder, how in the world were they able to bring together Spence and Crawford and give them the kind of guarantees that they wanted, but they can't seem to make other fights? And you know what's interesting about this? Spence and Crawford, they would have had that rematch in December if Crawford ain't beat him down the way he did. So Spence would have had 2 fights, and he would have made another big payday. But at the end of the day, when you look at what's going on right now, going into 2024, it seems like everyone's kind of caught up in that PBC web right now. I personally think something great is going to happen in 2024 for PBC. And I think something great is going to happen for the fighters. But what's the most interesting is, I think Errol Spence, before he fought Terence Crawford, I think Errol Spence was probably the hottest name over there at PBC. I think he was. I think, like I said before in other videos, they were trying to set up the Spence-Canelo fight. I personally think they brought Canelo over there to fight Spence as one of the 3 fights. And whoever else you're going to throw at Canelo, I don't know. But I think Spence was definitely the guy who they were looking at. But the fact that that Terence Crawford, like, why? That's the thing. Why Terence Crawford? No one's fighting, right? None of the real big name fighters are over there fighting. But then Terence Crawford happens to be fighting one of their guys. And all of a sudden that fight gets to happen and the big money is there for that fight. I get it. It's an undisputed distinction. I get it. Fans are demanding it. Fans want it. But I'm going to be honest with you. I think Terence Crawford and Errol Spence, the way the pay-per-view performed, I think its performance had somewhat was diminished by the fact that the 2 of them had kind of gone back and forth, and fans just got tired of the BS. So I think those final numbers could have been more handsome, but I just think it just took a while to get the fight over the line, and I think these fighters got exhausted. Like, really, man, there were a lot of people just kind of over the whole Terence Crawford, Errol Spence thing. But again, maybe we know Paulie Malignaggi calls himself the Magic Man, Antonio Tarver calls himself the Magic Man. But maybe Terence Crawford is the real Magic Man, because he's floating around out there. Everybody's laughing at him. No one seems to be taking this man serious, right? He can't get any big name fights. All of a sudden, he ends up going over there to PBC, striking some kind of deal where they couldn't find any money, right? No other fighter they were looking at, there was no money there to pay the kind of money that Errol Spence deserved and that Terence Crawford was able to bring to the table. So I personally think Terence Crawford brought that money over there. And I think Errol Spence, I think when Terence Crawford is thanking Errol Spence and he's shaking his hands and they're calling each other brother and they're trying to be respectful towards each other, let me tell y'all something. I think there's so much more to that fight, man. I really, really do. Excuse me. I think Errol Spence took that fight when he was advised not to, but also with him knowing, you know what, it's going to be tough getting down to 147. But I don't think Errol Spence felt like, you know what, I can afford to stay out this ring over a year, which he was out the ring over a year. I think he's like, you know what, I need to get back in this ring. Somehow this money appeared for him and Crawford, and I listened to Errol Spence talk. I mean, his whole conversation was different, even in the damn All Access. His conversation was different. His conversation was centered around money. Got to make the sacrifice. Where else can I go and do for such a short amount of time and get paid this kind of money? All the sacrifices my mom made, my family made. You got my kids and this and that. And I remember hearing that, and I was like, man, he's talking so much about money. He's never really sounded like that. It's almost like he doesn't want to miss out on opportunities. And I think the stuff he and Crawford talked about, I think he and Crawford talked about a lot more than what Al Heyman knows, than what Showtime reps like Espinoza knows. I think Spence and Crawford had some things they discussed that they knew about that maybe not everybody was privy to. And I mean that. Because even now when you watch those guys, man, let me tell you something. I've done a lot of dirt in my life. I ain't gonna get into all that. But I got some partners, man. Some things we don't talk about, but you just watched it, it's just a certain energy there between us. Where we all know what time it is. From shit back when we were young guys, teenagers. You know what I'm saying? Stupid stuff. And when I watch Spence and Crawford, I see that kind of energy. Like there's something they know that no one else knows. But at the end of the day, they both came out on top. Spence is chilling out there on all of his land in Texas. Crawford's building what seems to be a mansion with I don't know what it is, 500 acres. And they both seem to be in a good space. And they both seem to care less what anyone thinks about them winning, losing, someone being on ped, someone being drunk, someone being high, someone being weight drained. No, they don't seem to care what anyone thinks. We out here creating all these videos talking about them. They could care less about what we think. But one thing I'll tell you for sure, as Errol Spence is saying thank you to Terence Crawford for keeping him busy in 2023. Because I truly feel if Crawford wouldn't have signed with PBC, I think Crawford still would have been busy. I do. I think Crawford still would have had a fight with somebody. Errol Spence wouldn't have had anything. I really feel that way. I feel Crawford would have been out there and got a fight with someone, even if he went overseas, over to the UK. And that's the thing about being kind of, independent. Crawford could go work with anybody. Spence can't do that. So Spence is very fortunate because Crawford could have went out there and snatched him a quick $15 million to go fight, one of those UK fighters. Eddie Hearn would have loved to make a fight out there. And Crawford would have got paid some money. They were trying to make fights with him. So, that being said, man, Errol Spence is saying thank you. But trust me, Crawford is giving him a big you're welcome because Crawford benefited too. You better believe that. That was the biggest fight that could be made for Terence Crawford. But it's not the only fight he had on the table. For Errol Spence, that was the biggest fight that could be made for him, but that was the only fight that could be made for him because there was nothing else going on for him. And I definitely feel that he had no plans on fighting in 2023 because of what he was being told. Just my opinion, just a conversation. I don't mind being wrong, but leave your comments below and let's talk about it in the breeze.